Alrighty, guys, welcome back to Q's Hot Takes. And on today's show, before my guy C Ruff joins the show, I just have to address what happened to my brother, Jayland Walker in Akron, Ohio. It's just really sickening that we're still dealing with this in 2022. But nonetheless, before my guy Ruff joins the show in a few minutes, I just have to, address this. If you know me and you follow my platform, Black Lives Matter is something that I'm really big on, and it's something that I want one day where Black people here in America, we don't have to fear for our lives every time we leave the house, or, if we're in a park, having to worry about a trigger-happy cop killing us, or traffic stops becoming executions for Black people. I'm just really fed up with this. We can't go jogging. We can't even be in our house anymore without the police, coming in and kicking our door in and, just shooting bullets just randomly through our house. It's just sickening. If you are unaware of what happened to Jayland Walker, he was a DoorDash driver. Reportedly, it was a traffic stop, a traffic violation for whatever reason. He tried to evade police. They claim he shot a one shot at them. I don't really believe that because it's really hard to trust anything the police say. As a Black person, I don't really trust the police because we can follow all their instructions and do everything that they tell us to do, and they'll still put bullets in our bodies. So I really, it's hard to believe anything the police say. It's a lot of, stories going around about what happened and stuff like that. So reportedly, it was a traffic stop, traffic violation. That's why they pulled Jayland Walker over. He tried to escape the police. Obviously, Black people, we're really triggered, anytime the police pull us over because we're scared and we're fearful that they're going to take our lives because too many times we've seen it where they've taken Black people away from us, for no good reason. And it's just really upsetting. So he evades police. Once they catch up to him, Jayland Walker tries to run away from the police. He's running away from, not towards, he's running away from them. And then they fire 90 bullets at him. 8 officers fire 90 bullets at this poor, unarmed Black man for no good reason. When we got the shooter up in Buffalo who went in a Black grocery store with the N-word painted on his rifle, kills 15 people. They bring him out peacefully. Just last week at the 4th of July parade, that guy, that white guy, shot up all those peaceful people at the 4th of July parade, and they arrest him peacefully. He evaded police, but he didn't get 90 bullets in him. I don't want anybody to get killed, but if Jayland Walker, a innocent DoorDash driver, gets 90 bullets in him for no good reason, why is it that these, white people, they do all this shooting, and the police, they bring them in peacefully. They'll say, we want to find out why they did it and all this, and then, it'll come out that, they'll say they had mental health issues. They weren't all the way there in the head. It's just crazy. So you can't justify this. Why did you shoot Jayland Walker 90 times and then you handcuffed his lifeless body? This is so disturbing and sickening. Like I mentioned earlier, we can't go to the grocery store anymore. We can't jog in the neighborhood anymore. My poor brother Tamir Rice was just playing with a toy gun in the park. Nobody was around him. 6 seconds on the scene, the police shoot him and kill him. But you got, people like Kyle Rittenhouse who can go around shooting innocent protesters in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And police, they celebrate him, giving him water, cheering him on. So it's two different Americas here. And it's just so sickening that we're still dealing with this in 2022. You got my sister Breonna Taylor, police kicking her door like she's a drug lord or something like that. My boyfriend, the police didn't identify themselves, so he fires one shot, and then the police, they just let their guns go, bullets just flying all through her apartment like she's a drug lord or something like this. And then they waited 6 minutes to, provide aid to Breonna Taylor. They could have saved her life. You got my brother George Floyd. He tried to use a fake dollar bill. He didn't have to lose his life over that. It was unnecessary for that officer to lay on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. We have to do better, America. This has to end. Black people losing their lives for no good reason. I'm just so disturbed. It's scary that every time we leave the house, it's just a blessing for us to make it home safely. And if we get stopped by the police, it's sad that they're turning to executions for my people. It's just really sad. It's really upsetting, and I pray that Jayland Walker gets the justice he deserves. Because you can't justify, like I said, putting 90 bullets in his unarmed body. There's no way you can justify that. So all the officers who shot their guns that night, all of them needed to serve a life sentence for taking this young man's life. Let's say a prayer for his family, his mom, his dad. Let's just say a prayer for his whole family, man. This is sad, and it's just sick that we're still dealing with this in 2022. C Ruff, my guy C Ruff, he's ready to go. So we're about to talk about NBA free agency. Kevin Durant and Kyrie, that situation. We're going to talk about where we think they're going to end up. We're going to talk about the three big trades: Dejounte Murray to Atlanta, Rudy Gobert to Minnesota, and Malcolm Brogdon to the Celtics. And then we're going to talk about some other teams who we think are having strong off seasons. But as we close this out, like I said, let's just keep praying for Jayland Walker's family, man. It's really upsetting, and it's just scary. It's a scary time in America to be a black person. I declare. As you see, that's Jayland Walker behind me. I'm not going to change my background today. I dedicate today's show to Jayland Walker. It's just really sad, what happened to this young man. I'm 24. He's 25. It's just scary, every time somebody gets killed around my age, for no reason. I remember when I was younger, Trayvon Martin, we were around the same age when he got killed, and you know, innocent black kid, just walking through his neighborhood, want to be caught. George Zimmerman, takes his life for no reason. All Trayvon Martin had was a bag of Skittles and the Arizona tea. He lost his life. So I do this for my guys, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, George Floyd, my sister Breonna Taylor. And like I said, one day I just hope that black people were able to walk freely in America like our white counterparts are. It's 2022. We're tired. We've been dealing with this since 1619. We're tired. We're tired of, the color of our skin being a target. All right, let's head on and let's talk about NBA free agency with my guy C Ruff from Time Out Sports. Alrighty, guys, and now joining the show, my guy C Ruff from Time Out Sports. Ruff, how you doing today, bro?
Keep them doing well. How about you?
I'm doing good too, bro. So let's go ahead and start with the KD and Kyrie situation. Uh, when these two got paired together, I thought it was going to be something special. I thought they were going to win a couple of championships. I thought they were going to be, hard to beat in the East. And it just hadn't worked out ever since they joined up together, unfortunately. 3 seasons together, only one playoff series win. That's pretty disappointing. And then they got swept by the Celtics when I thought they were going to take the Celtics to 7 games and make that series a lot more competitive than it was. And the Celtics got the broom out and swept them. And then when they got James Harden, I didn't think nobody was going to be able to deal with them. And then that just didn't work out because Kyrie didn't want to get vaccinated. So it's just been really disappointing. And then when Kyrie, opted into his $36 million contract, I thought, maybe they could mend fences. But I guess KD is just, fed up with Kyrie's antics and stuff like that. So, Ruff, what do you think about this whole KD and Kyrie situation? It's just very disappointing that they weren't able to, do more in their time in Brooklyn because it was supposed to be something special.
Well, for me, I'm a fan of Kyrie, being that he's a Duke guy, and he's one of the better point guards the game has seen. When you talk about the package, he can score at every level. He can shoot it from distance. He can shoot it mid range. Get to the rack, finish with left or right hand. He can shoot the free throws 85 to 90%. He just has no flaws when you talk about his offensive game. Kevin Durant, we know what he represents. I've never been a Kevin Durant fan per se, but we know what he represents. 7 feet tall, can shoot it at every level as well. has improved his defense, especially since he got with Golden State. And after that, so like you said, when you look at that pairing, you thought that they would be able to do more than they did. But it's always been something. Like we said, with the vaccine, Kyrie not wanting to get the vaccine. Then James Harden gets fed up with the situation. He asks out. You get Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons doesn't play a single game. So it's just been always something in their way, holding them back. And, for me at this point, it looks like that both of them are ready to move on. Kyrie to the Lakers seems like it's probable. And Kevin Durant, the thing about him is I don't know what's going to happen with him because he wants to go to Miami or Phoenix. And when you look at the trade packages, Devin Booker can't be traded at this point because of the extension.
Ooh.
And they didn't want to put him in the trade for him anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
So how are you going to make it happen to where the Nets are getting enough back to be interested? Then when you talk about the Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo can't be traded, and that's a guy that they don't want to trade anyway. Because when you talk about Phoenix and Miami, you're defeating the purpose. If you trade Devin Booker or Bam Adebayo for Kevin Durant, you're defeating the purpose. You need to be able to pair those guys with him. So now you have a Chris Paul, a Devin Booker, and a Kevin Durant to form a trio. You need to be able to have Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Kevin Durant as a trio. So I don't know exactly what's going to go down with Kevin Durant at this point, but it does set a bad precedent for the league. When you talk about a guy signing the contract extension and being this early into the contract and won't out, it's not a good look for the league, and it's something that will end up having negative correlation going forward if the NBA continues to allow it to happen.
Yeah, I agree because I think it was 4 years, $193 million, and it was supposed to start this year. So it's just really unfortunate. And I hate Kyrie. I think he was hurt last year in the playoffs, and KD, was basically trying to beat the Bucks by himself because James Harden was also nicked up. And like you said, some of the trade packages for KD, it kind of would defeat the purpose of him going to, certain teams because if they have to trade two of their better players, what is he going there for? Because I remember I saw I think the Nets asked for Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards and like 4 first-round picks for KD. And I'm like, what is he going to Minnesota for? To play with Rudy Gobert? Like that? Like that would be defeat the purpose, like you said, of going to these teams. So we have to wait and see. So you already mentioned you think Kyrie's going to go to the Lakers. Where do you think KD is going to end up? And I feel like if Kyrie goes to the Lakers, I feel like the Nets. It would have to be a third team involved because I don't think the Nets would want Ben Simmons and Russell Westbrook on the same team. Because that would be pretty hard to watch in the half court, and the rim probably would be begging for mercy because they would be clanking it off the backboard all game long. So where do you think KD's going to end up? Because it seems like the Nets, they're asking for a little too much for KD. And I mean, he's 34, so you're probably going to get 2 to 3 years of KD left. And I know the Warriors were another team mentioned, but like I said on Twitter yesterday, I just don't think it would be smart for them to trade the future of their team for 2 to 3 years of KD. Yes, you probably win 1 or 2 more championships with your core 3 guys, but you're trading your young, you would have to trade away most of your young pieces. So I don't really think it's worth it. So we have to see if the Nets will lower their asking price for KD because it seems like they want to still be competitive in the East and in the league. If they traded away KD and Kyrie, they don't just want to tank and, build up on draft picks. So where do you think KD is going to end up?
Well, it's getting dicey, man. At this point, I'm kind of iffy about it. I mean, because like I mentioned earlier, those 2 trade packages for Miami and Phoenix aren't really as crystal clear as you would think. So the team that I'm looking at as a sleeper, though, is the Toronto Raptors.
Ooh.
I don't know if he'd be willing to go there if they're one of the teams. Well, they're not one of the 2 teams that were named, but is he even open to going there? But when you look at Toronto, you have a lot of good pieces. and you have talent that are young, but you have some that are young but not too young. Also, you have a good mix. When you talk about Pascal Siakam, who's been in the league for some years now, when you talk about Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, uh, Scotty Barnes, Chris Boucher as a big. So that's the team that I'm looking at now, and I'm saying to myself, okay, if you're the Toronto Raptors, I'm trying to see if they're willing to take draft compensation and Gary Trent Jr. and OG Anunoby.
That probably ain't gonna get it done. They probably won't Scotty because I think I remember.
Now they do want Scotty. That's what I've been hearing, but I don't want to part with Scotty either. And
he's special.
And he's so young. I mean, he's this good, and he's young. I mean, so you're talking about trading a guy that's 21, something like that, for a guy that's 34. See, it's giving up too many years of promise. That's why I would like to go. If I could go OG, it was young also, but he's not quite as young as Scotty. I hadn't really thought about it much. I'm trying to see if I'm Toronto and they say we want Scotty.
I'm hanging the phone up.
Yeah, that's so tough because Kevin Durant, we know what he represents, but he's literally 34 already. He's 13 years he's about probably 13 or 14 years older than Scotty Barnes. So it's like if we don't win a championship, if we make that move,
it wasn't worth it.
I mean, it was a straight up failure. Yeah, you have to win a championship if you make that move because, like you say, you're giving away a guy that's that young and still has the promise and the potential to be a superstar one day. So Toronto is a team I'm looking at. We know that Golden State is another team that would be amazing if they got him. I don't want it to happen because I'm not a Golden State fan. But when you look at the trade packages, they have a very appealing trade package. They can put together either Kuminga or Wiseman. Now, I don't think they would want to do both. Yeah, they could also add Moses Moody. Who else could they add in there? I mean, Jordan Poole, they're not gonna want to do.
Nope.
But they have 4 or 5 guys that they can say, okay, take 2 of these guys if you want, and then we'll give you draft compensation. Now, I don't think that they will be willing to do Wiseman and Kuminga. I don't think, because both very young and both kind of play this, similar positions. Kuminga's not a center, but he's like a power forward. And Wiseman can play power forward and center. So I don't know if they would be willing to part ways with both of those guys, but they have a very appealing trade package that they can put together. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think Kyrie, like I said, ends up with the Lakers because it seems like the Nets are tired of him. And Kyrie, although he is a special player, he's a phenomenal basketball player, the drama and the uncertainty of him makes other teams not be interested. So it seems like it's really the Lakers the only team that's willing to do a lot of trading and showing a lot of interest in him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. When you're going to trade for KD and Kyrie, you're going to have to deal with the mood swings. Kyrie, you don't know, some days he's just not going to feel like playing basketball. He's just going to want to take some paid time off, So, I mean, you're going to have to take on a lot more than just their basketball game when you trade for these 2 guys. So I feel like KD, they're going to have to lower the asking price for him because it's way too high right now. And the Lakers, are they going to be willing to give up those those first round draft picks down the line to focus on trying to win one more championship with LeBron? He's probably got 2 or 3 more years. I would do it in a heartbeat because why do you care about those picks? Because LeBron's not going to be around, and I mean, for a chance to win a championship with one more with LeBron, I don't see why they wouldn't want to do that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and they're all in Vegas, so maybe something can happen before they leave Vegas Sunday. So we shall see. Moving on to topic 2, let's talk about the 3 big trades so far this offseason. And KD and Kyrie, they could be some big trades later down the line, but so far we got Dejounte Murray to Atlanta, Uh, the Spurs, they received Gallinari, who got bought out to the Celtics. They got a first round pick this year via Charlotte from New York. It's protected. And then they got a first round pick in 2025. They're going to swap picks in 2026. And then they got a first round pick in 2027 to pair Dejounte Murray with Trae Young. I think this is going to be a very exciting young backcourt. And we saw in the series against the Heat, the Hawks did not have anybody else besides Trae Young who could get the offense going and get players to their spots and stuff like that. Because it was just, I was hard watching the Heat 1-5. They switch out on Trae Young and felt like he was in hell, the way they could switch out on him. You you pair him with Dejounte Murray, who's just a walking triple double. I think this is going to be a fun, exciting, like I said, young backcourt in Atlanta. If they can figure out, because both of them are ball dominant, both of them have to have the ball in their hand. So, can Trae Young succeed with, being off the ball? We shall see. Ruff, what do you think about this first trade? And I don't know what the Spurs were doing, trading their best player away. It seems to me they're clearly going to tank and try to get one of those top draft picks next year, because it's not a guarantee that you get the top draft pick, because they have the lottery just to ensure that teams don't tank, but teams do it anyway. So what are your thoughts on this first trade?
So the Dejounte Murray, is a very good young player. He's able, like you said, he can pass, he can defend a little bit, he can score, but he's not a very good shooter from distance.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I'm looking at is, as we've said, both of them are ball dominant. Trae will be able to be more successful than Dejounte off ball because of his shooting ability. For me, I'm a little bit skeptical on Dejounte off ball because, like I said, he's not a very good 3-point shooter. So I guess what they'll try to do is kind of have him run and, be more of a cutter, or he'll catch the ball maybe at 3-point line and try to, go downhill once he catches it, because he won't be able to do a whole lot of catching and shooting. That's not his game. Now, if I'm Dejounte Murray, I'm calling lethal shooter. Now we know that AD is working out with lethal shooter. Seems like often this offseason he's posting a lot of videos, and he seems like he's done wonders for people's game and their ability to shoot the three. So if I'm Dejounte, I'm getting with lethal shooter or one of these training coaches, and I'm trying to figure out in this offseason how I can improve my 3-point percentage, so that I'm more of a threat from behind the arc. Because I think that's going to be key to keeping teams honest. I like the move. I don't know that I love it. I don't think I love it right now. There's just too many uncertainties. But it's also going to be interesting to see the development of DeAndre Hunter. I believe DeAndre Hunter has star potential.
Yeah, he can be special.
I mean, he can shoot the ball. He can defend. He can cut to the basket and score in that way. And so I'm looking for him to see if he's going to be able to be more consistent this year and take a step. Clint Capella, I think, is a problem for the Hawks. I think he's way past his prime. He was a guy that never was really skilled offensively. And so when that athleticism starts to wane, that can become a problem.
Yes, for sure.
So the Hawks still have some uncertainties. They have some questions, but in the end, I think it was a solid move. It will put more fans in the seats. Get them more box office. Now having 2 stars instead of 1. And when you talk about the Spurs, I don't have a clue what they're really doing.
Exactly.
I'm surprised that Greg Popovich is not retired at this point. Because it doesn't really fit him. When you look at Greg Popovich, he's a winner.
For sure.
He's been there when they had talent and when they had a chance to win championships. Last few years, they're doing much of nothing. So I'm just surprised that he's still hanging on. But Spurs, I don't see much of a future with them going forward. Now I think that, and the thing I don't understand about it is, if you're gonna trade them to Dejounte Murray, why didn't you get John Collins back?
Yeah, I was surprised instead of Gallinari.
Right, they want to move John Collins. That's what's being reported. They want to move John Collins. He's young. He's a very good player. So if they want, you traded Dejounte Murray to them for peanuts. I didn't understand that at all. So,
but I don't know why they want to get rid of John Collins. I don't know if it's money or what. Because I mean, I think that's a nice big three. You got Murray, Trae Young, and John Collins. I feel like that's a exciting young duo. I don't really know why they want to move off John Collins, especially the way he balled out. Not this past playoffs, but the prior year when they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I was shocked. I thought that's what they were going to trade Dejounte Murray for John Collins and a whole bunch of draft picks. But when they got Gallinari, I was shocked. Because he wasn't gonna stay there and be a part of no rebuild. And real quick to talk about AD, it's sad that fans had to bully him into the gym because once he made that stupid comment about how he hadn't touched the ball since April 5th, fans were just giving him hell. And then next thing you know, he's working with lethal shooter, like you said, and it looks like AD is gonna get back to the old AD. We've seen what AD can do. We just need to see it on a consistent basis because we saw him destroy Joel Embiid that one night in Philadelphia, and then we see Karl Anthony Towns give him a 30-piece, and so we just have to wait and see if AD can be consistent. Darvin Ham, he said AD is going to be the biggest determining factor of how successful they are next year. They have Rasheed Wallace, so maybe Sheed can bring that dog out of AD on a nightly basis. So we have to see on that. The next trade, I was not expecting Rudy Gobert to go to Minnesota. That came out of left field. I was like, huh? So the Timberwolves, they traded for Rudy Gobert, and the Jazz, they got a bunch of players and draft picks in this trade. As I look here, they got Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, who's probably going to get bought out, Walker Kessler, the Minnesota's draft pick for this year, Jared Vanderbilt, and their first round draft picks in 2023, 2025. They're going to swap picks in 2026. 2027, they get their first round pick, and then in 2029, my God. So if this was the trade package for Rudy Gobert, I guess that's why the Nets want so much for Kevin Durant, because Rudy Gobert is half the player that KD is. But my God, the Timberwolves better win a championship because they just traded their whole future away to win a championship with Rudy Gobert. And my initial thoughts on this trade were this isn't the 90s. We don't see many teams play two bigs. Now, while Cat can go out to the three-point line and shoot threes, sometimes he stays out there a little too much for my liking. I'm a little more uncertain about this trade than I were the Dejounte Murray trade, just because, like I said, you don't see many teams play two bigs. You see a lot of teams play, four guards and four smaller players around one big. Rudy Gobert, I mean, he's an excellent defender. He's a great rim protector. He doesn't really have much of an offensive game. So I really was surprised Minnesota made this move, especially we're going to talk about it later. They just gave Cat the bag, and now taking on Rudy Gobert's contract too. So I'm really not sure how this is going to work out in Minnesota. You got Anthony Edwards. So what are your thoughts on this trade? Because I'm thinking this may be a disaster, honestly, especially with the spacing aspect of it.
Well, the spacing is fine now. I mean, if you want, because Cat like to shoot a lot of threes anyway.
Yes, that's
and he wasn't much of a defensive presence. He's more of an offensive guy.
Yes.
So now you'll have Rudy Gobert anchor in the paint, and Cat will be able to act like a guard and stand out there by the 3-point line. But I don't think it moves the needle. It just doesn't. It's not a trade that has them in contention, in my opinion. I think that there were teams. I was a little bit thrown out because I think that there were teams with a bigger need for a guy like Rudy Gobert, like the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, they got Mark Williams now, but we didn't necessarily know if that was going to happen or not. So for me, like I said, and you gave up a lot of compensation for Rudy Gobert. I mean, like you said, when you're talking about 4 players for a guy that's, I mean, just really a shot blocker and defensive guy, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. So for me, yeah, I don't have much to say about it. I don't think it moves the needle. I mean, you
I
know,
don't either.
it's not a move that gets them in championship contention. So I don't understand why you do it.
Yeah, I have no earthly idea what they're doing in Minnesota. I guess because the West is going to be so loaded next year. I guess think they think this is going to somehow make them a finals contender. But when you trade away a bunch of your key players and basically your draft picks for the next couple years, I don't really agree with this. Because like you said, Rudy Gobert, he's not Shaq or anything like that. He's a shot blocker. He's gonna make sure that he's gonna anchor the paint, like you said. And on offense, you're not gonna get much from him. I mean, I could see this helping them because Cat he gets in foul trouble. He has some stupid fouls sometimes, and sometimes you have to look at the stat sheet and see if he's playing because he'll disappear some nights. But whew, they gave up a lot for a player that I don't think is gonna make them that much better. So we shall see. And then the final trade, the Celtics really finessed the Pacers. So the Celtics, they received Malcolm Brogdon. The Pacers, they received Aaron Naismith, Daniel Tice, Nick Stokes, I think that's how you say his name, Malik Fitzis, and Jawan Morgan, and their 2023 first round pick. So basically, the Celtics traded them a spam sandwich and a bag of Utz chips. Basically, that's what the Celtics traded to get Malcolm Brogdon, who's one of the best point guards in the league. And the Pacers must have really wanted to get off him if they accepted this trade for basically nothing. You were talking about Dejounte Murray got traded for a bag of peanuts. I think the Celtics finessed the Pacers a little more. So I think this really answers the need for the Celtics. They need a point guard. Marcus Smart is not a point guard. And you don't want Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown having to handle the ball as much because, as we saw, when they have their ball in their hands a little too much and they have to create the offense for themselves, they turn the ball over way, way too much. And adding Malcolm Brogdon and Gallinari, I think the Celtics, I think they're going to be the favorites out of the East next year. They're going to be the team to beat because they can go 10 deep. And adding Gallinari is really going to help their bench because, their bench basically gave them nothing in the finals. And that's why they ultimately lost the finals because nobody off their bench showed up on a consistent basis. So what do you think about this trade as the Celtics look like they're serious about getting back to the finals next year?
Yeah, it was a great move for the Celtics when we talk about Brogdon. Like you said, I haven't really done a ranking, but he probably would be around top 10 to 12 point guard in the league if healthy. He can score the ball, he can facilitate, he gives you defense. So he's definitely a good player, a very good player. And it was a need for them because we talked about it before. They averaged 19 turnovers per game in their 4 finals losses. 19. You're not going to win an NBA championship doing that. And like we also said, they got nothing easy. And that's a part of the reason why they were turning it over so much because they were trying to create with guys who aren't point guards, who don't make the best decisions with the ball. Marcus Smart is not a point guard. He's more of a 2 guard. And he's not necessarily a great one at that because he's not a good enough and consistent enough shooter. But he's more of a 2 guard than he is a point guard. He's not a point. And so I love the move for Boston. I think if Brogdon can stay healthy, I think they'll try to load manage him. Maybe if they can figure out how to play him 70 games this season, he can get 12 games off and get into the playoffs healthy. And I think it'll end up being a great move for them. Like you said, Gallinari gives them some more bench punch. Another move that I think they should look at if it becomes available, if Patrick Beverley ends up balled out,
oh man,
I would sign Patrick Beverley if I'm the Celtics. And I'm going to tell you why, because I think Derek White is a solid player also, but sometimes he don't necessarily look like a point guard either.
Oh, yes.
So maybe you can run Derek White at the 2, like with the bench unit, and have Patrick Beverley at the 1.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
And he will bring some more tenacity, some more defense, and he's a better 3-point shooter than a lot of people give him credit for. So I think Boston, they got better. They definitely improved in areas that they needed to. And I'm just interested in seeing if my guy Jason Tatum can come back and add to what he did last year. I mean, people are dogging him, and deservedly so. He played terrible in the finals, but
Sure.
uh, he's young. He's very young. It's his first rodeo. I think he needs to get in the weight room, put on a little bit more mass, even if it's not necessarily weight. He needs to come back strong.
For
You know,
sure.
because there's certain guys that slim in their frame, but they're strong. Kevin Durant is a guy that's not. You know, if you look at him, you think you can kind of blow him over, but he's a little bit stronger than people give him credit for.
For sure.
So I think that's something that Jason Tatum needs to work on. Jaylen Brown has to get in the gym and work on his handle. I don't know who is best handle shooting coach. I mean, handle coach, ball handling. But Jaylen Brown looked like. I mean, every time he was touching the ball, it looked like the ball was on fire, and he was trying to get it out of his hands so he didn't get sores on his hands. I mean,
Yeah, it
it
was
was a
bad.
mess in the finals. So they got some things to work on, but on paper they got better, and there's no question about it.
Yeah, and I don't really. Yes, like you said, Jason Tatum played bad in the finals, but up until that point, I mean, look at the teams that they had took out to get to the finals. You know, you beat the title favorites, the Nets. You sweep them, then you beat the Bucks, the defending champs, and then you beat the number one seed in the East. And I think he'll use this as a learning experience, like LeBron did his first finals. And I expect Jason Tatum to come back on a mission next year. And Jaylen Brown, like you said, he just needs to work on his ball handling. No shooting, no nothing. Just he needs to dribble ball to training camps. That's all he needs to do. And I would be shocked if they aren't representing the East next year because they have all the pieces that they need now to contend. And like you said, adding Patrick Beverly, who I'm pretty sure they're going to buy him out in Utah because they're also talking about shopping Donovan Mitchell because he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. That'd be wasting his prime years. And I'm pretty sure Patrick Beverly, they'll buy him out too because he doesn't want to be a part of a very bad Utah team next year. It's really sad how they're going to fall from being one of the top teams in the West to probably at the bottom of the West. So that's just really unfortunate. And to close out the show, I thought we would talk about some other teams that have had some good off seasons so far. We already talked about Boston. I thought Portland, so far, they're putting together a good offseason. You added Gary Payton, who's just a junkyard dog on defense. I was surprised the Warriors let him slip away, but I think they're going to kind of be strangled by their cap. So their cap is going to cripple them of how many guys they can, re-sign from their championship unit. And then you traded for Jeremy Grant. I think having some help for Dame so he doesn't have to do everything by himself. The Blazers, they got some good young pieces. Anthony Simons, you throw in Nasir Little. So this team, they got some good young pieces. They still need to build on it. And I think that if they do that, I think they could, make the play-in tournament back half of the playoffs. And we shall see what this team can do next year. Dame's going to be healthy. I'm really hoping he recovers well, and I'm looking forward to seeing Dame time back in Portland next year. And then I said the Clippers adding John Wall. They're deep at every position now. They can go 2 or 3 deep at every position, so that's going to be scary. So who are some teams that you think are having some good off seasons so far?
Oh, I agree with your pick of the Clippers. John Wall coming back healthy, motivated. Now you have 2 guys who are capable of being the starter, and John Wall and Reggie Jackson. I think they'll be able to push each other and get the best out of each other. Now, I didn't understand what the Wizards did. I mean, not the Wizards, what the Nuggets did by getting rid of Will Barton.
I didn't either. That was crazy to me.
I think that the Wizards won that trade. I like that move to get Will Barton and Monte Morris. I think Monte Morris is a solid player, and so I like what the Wizards did. They're another team that a lot of people say want Kevin Durant. I don't know what you would try to trade for him. Being that's kind of hometown.
Yeah. So. Would he want to go there though? Because him and Bradley Beal, that could be a fun, exciting duo. But would they have to give up Barton and Morris to, even get the Nets?
It wouldn't be them. It wouldn't be them. Probably it would be Kuz. They had to give up Kuzma. They had to give
They
up.
gladly do that to get KD.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, it's still Kuzma's not a bad player. I never thought he was,
No, he can
but he
shoot.
just was not a player that fit with LeBron. I mean, because it's different when you have those expectations too.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen so many guys that were great on their teams when they were just on teams that were expected to make the playoffs and shoot. If they won the first round, they accomplished a lot. But when you talk about getting with LeBron James and the expectation is competing for a championship, it's made a lot of boys out of so-called men. I mean, they've changed their play, and it's not been for the better. So I've liked what a couple teams have done so far this offseason. And we know that it's not necessarily over.
No free
You still got a few pieces out here that could, add to a team.
Yeah, we just have to, wait and see. Maybe some deals can get done at Summer League, like I said, and maybe some teams can fill out with some of these guys who impress at Summer League. Because not everybody's gonna make the team that they're with. They're auditioning for all the other teams, and then even some international teams. Because all the coaches, GMs, they're all in Vegas, so that's their time to shine. And hopefully get an invite to training camp, and anything can happen from there. So we just have to wait and see. So thank you again for joining the show, Ruff. It's always fun to chat it up with you, my brother. You want to tell people where they can follow you and your pages and your podcast and all that, my brother.
No problem. Thanks for the invite. You can follow me on social media. The podcast can be found at Timeout Sports Podcast on Spotify and iTunes. Timeout Sports Podcast. Our Twitter page is at Timeout Sports 3. At Timeout Sports 3. Sports is all caps. And the Instagram page is Timeout Sports with 2 underscores. And also, I run a page. I created a page for the WNBA where I highlight their fashion and their outfits, whether it's pre-game fits or sometimes it's just in their leisure time that I post. But anyways, make sure to follow that page. The Twitter account is fits_WNBA, and the Instagram account is WNBA League Fits. We also do some interviews on there. I also do interviews on the Timeout Sports pages. But I'm going to be I've already got a couple interviews on the Fits page too for WNBA players. And I'm going to have another one. Yeah, I'm going to have another one probably within the next week. So I'm not going to announce who, but I think you all will be intrigued by this person and want to make sure that you're following the pages. Again, I thank everybody that supports me and continues to support Keith and all that he's doing.
Yes, sir, my brother. And I just want to say that fit that Skylar Diggins had on for the All-Star game the other day, she went crazy with that fit. Oh my God. I know some people were saying it was trash, but I think they need to get some new eyes because she went crazy with that fit. Man.
Yeah, well, the thing about Skylar is you got to be open. Skylar doesn't play it safe like some people. Some of her fits are a little bit outlandish as some would think. But yeah, I mean, she made a statement, and again, make sure that you all follow those accounts. And we are hoping that Brittany Griner will be able to be released and brought back home safely soon.
Yes, because it's just ridiculous. They have her over there for so long, for basically nothing. I mean, it's obviously more serious in their country, but she should have been home. And hopefully, like you said, we can get her home safely soon because it's getting ridiculous now. I remember the other night, Phoenix was playing LA, and I was just thinking how, I would have loved to see Brittany Griner and Liz battle it out in the paint. And, she should be here playing with her teammates. So, like you said, hopefully we can get her home soon because it's long overdue.
Absolutely.